Hello and a very good early morning to you. A very chilly morning. It's 15 degrees Fahrenheit. Not sure what that is in Celsius, but I'll put it right here. And we are going on a road trip to Las Vegas. It is CES week coming up. I'm sure it's already passed by the time this video goes up, but I'm driving there in our Kia EV6 GT. Believe it or not, this is my first ever road trip that I've taken in an eGMP vehicle. That would be the electric global modular platform that was shared between Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis. So we have a EV6 GT. This is the pre-refresh model, which might actually be better in some ways, worse in other ways. I'll explain more. But we've got just over 800 miles to do today to get to Las Vegas. We have a dinner this evening in about 13 hours. So let's hope we can hammer down. We have good charging. Preconditioning works. I'm really worried about the battery temperature throughout this trip getting too cold and charging too slow. I'll show you around the car a little bit. I'll then show you the route, and then we will hit the road with no delay. Well, good morning from the out-of-spec hub, and I just drove over here from my house in the EV6 GT. I charged it up at home to 100%, and it indicated 186 miles at a full charge. That is one of the real downsides of this Kia EV6, especially in the wintertime. The GT has no range. I always thought, okay, it's the same as a normal EV6, just with like different wheels and tires, and, you know, slightly upgraded motors. It still does the front motor clutch disconnect thing in eco mode, but even in eco mode, this thing will not display over 200 miles at a full charge with climate control running at a very reasonable light 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It is unbelievable to me how thirsty the EV6 GT is. And to be totally transparent with you, this car, well, first off, I have to say a huge thank you to Fort Collins Kia for giving us this car for 6 months. Being able to test it and review it and drive it over the last few months has been great to have in the fleet. However, I have not liked this car. I actually gave it a great review a couple years ago when I drove it for the first time. I thought, wow, EV6 GT, incredibly fast, incredibly fun. And it is when you drive it fast. But if you're just daily driving this car, I actually think it's pretty bad. The seats are incredibly uncomfortable. The software is borderline unusable compared to other vehicles. Like even Mercedes is doing a great job with software. Kia and Hyundai, really not so much. This car has a refresh coming with more comfortable seats, a bigger battery pack, more power, the shifting thing like the Ioniq 5N, as well as, what else does it come? Oh, CCNC, the upgraded software that should make it a little bit better, but it will match basically Kia EV9, which also sucks. The route planning is trash. Everything in this car just doesn't work for me for daily driving. So while I'm incredibly grateful to Fort Collins Kia for letting us play around with this, and to have it for 6 months, it's one of those very rare occasions where I review a car. And typically when I review a car and then I either buy the car or we borrow it for an extended period of time, my thoughts kind of line up pretty perfectly. Maybe I find a couple little things that I didn't find in my, sort of week-long review. But this one was really a shock. This car was a car I totally enjoyed for a week, and then I totally have not enjoyed it for the last few months. I just think it's not a great package, incredibly overpriced. And anyway, maybe my thoughts will change on this trip, because the thing is, we've only put about 2,200 miles on this car in the last 5 or 6 months or so. It is mostly just sat around because no one really on the team has enjoyed driving it. So, again, I don't want this to reflect poorly on Fort Collins Kia, and there are certainly EV6 GT owners out there who love their cars. But if you look at the market, these things just aren't selling. They're not moving. They're sitting on lots. And the only way that Kia is moving this product is by heavily discounting it. And it feels like that makes sense to me. I'd much rather have an Ioniq 5N for just a few $1,000s more than this MSRP for MSRP. Again, bigger discounts on this particular car for good reason. So that's my quick EV6 GT summary. That's coming into it after having this car for almost 6 months now. I don't actually know how long we've had it, but plus or minus. I'm going to do 1,600 miles in it minimum to Vegas and back. And this video will be our trip to Vegas. And I've got it kind of packed up and ready to go. I mean, I don't want to delay too much. Let me show you what I've got going on in here. I have Starlink mounted up in the roof there. So I have connectivity, and probably we'll do a live stream maybe on the way back rather than the way out, but wanted to get it mounted in there, at least if I have to work through the mountains, and we're good to go. Other than that, charged up to 99%. Even with climate control off, the car is showing 211 miles on a full charge, which is just totally so low. Again, it's 77.4. Right? 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack in this one, and it's still pretty fresh. I mean, we've only really done a range test and not much else. It has 2,152 miles on it, so it's barely broken in, which is very good. So it's cold out here. It's like 15 degrees out. Let's jump inside, kick the climate control on, watch the range drop. I just filled it up with washer fluid because it was low somehow. I'm not sure how that happened. So we'll go on auto, climate. I'm going to keep, there is a driver only mode, which is nice, but I'm going to keep it open on everything here, just so the whole cabin can warm up. You can see the range has dropped to 186 miles now, and that is with climate control at a very reasonable setting. Now, software is so laggy. Come on, let's see what happens when we put in Las Vegas, shall we? Las Vegas, Nevada. There we go. 627 miles as the crow flies. But of course, it's going to be significantly more with the driving route. Okay, charging is required to reach the destination. Let's try the route planning. 805 miles to get there. Oh, it says we could stop in 11 miles at a Blink station, 3.8 miles at a 6 kilowatt station, 13 miles at a 9 kilowatt station. And this is what I mean about this car just having the shittiest route planning. Now, we have shown the EV9 with the updated system to have better route planning than this. But at the end of the day, this system just sucks. There's no way around it. Hyundai Kia Genesis built one hell of a fantastic electric car. The EV6 is fun to drive fast and has great thermal management. I did a video with, not this exact car, but a EV6 GT on the Autobahn running top speed with no major issues from a thermal situation after multiple charging sessions. It's so impressive. And then they totally let the car down with this software. Now, you'll hear in the comment section, EV6, Ioniq 5 owners, oh, the software is totally fine. Okay, maybe it's fine for your use case, but for the price of the car and the competition it's going up against, this is not it at all. So is this just a case of Kyle's groggy in the morning and annoyed with the EV6? Well, no, because actually every time I've gotten in our EV6 GT over the last few months, I kind of feel this way. The seats are incredibly uncomfortable. They don't go low enough. The Ioniq 5 is just such a much better package in the N trim than this is in the EV6 GT trim. And again, the car comes alive when you drive it fast. GT mode is hilarious. You can slide it around. It's a really fun car to drive. But if we're honest with each other and ourselves, which we really should be, very, very few moments throughout a year are you able to drive like that. Most of the time, you're just cruising around town and sitting on the highway. And for that 99% use case that this EV6 has, man, does it just not perform, especially compared to the standard EV6. What was really telling to me is Colton, who works for out-of-spec detailing, he has an EV6 long-range all-wheel drive wind trim with tech pack, I think. Anyway, I offered him, hey, do you want to drive the EV6 GT, keep the miles off your lease? You can just drive this. It's just sitting around. Fort Collins Kia was cool enough to let us have it for some videos and comparisons, which we were able to use for this versus Ioniq 5 and other things. I said, do you just want to take the EV6 GT? And he's like, no, you know what? I'd rather put miles on my lease because I like the standard car so much more. And I'm like, wow, me too. I totally agree. So with all that said, we've got to go deliver a package to Jordan on the way down. I think he's going to meet us as long as he's awake at the Woolly Mammoth parking lot where we start all of our hogback challenges. And with that said, I'm going to reset the trip computer. I have no idea where our first stop will be. But one thing we really have to do is once I kind of figure out roughly where we're going to stop, I put it in the navigation system, and you have to manually go in and select the DC charger. I'll show you this process for it to kick on battery preconditioning. Once the charger is selected, it will precondition the battery. I have the setting on in settings. It's so annoying. It will only precondition down to 20% state of charge, and then it will shut off preconditioning, which is when you need it the most because you're getting to a charger at the lowest state of charge possible, hopefully. Yeah, there's no assistance from the car here. This is all manual trip planning, all manual calculations. I could use CarPlay with a better route planner plugged in, but I've got a better route planner right up here in my head, and hopefully we don't run out on the way. So I think that's a pretty negative start to a road trip, but that's honestly my opinion coming into this car. I'm forcing myself to take it on this trip to see if I can find redeeming qualities other than the performance on a twisty road, which matters very little to me in a car like this. Okay, let's navigate to a charger in here so I don't necessarily have to do this while driving. I think the range is going to be so bad we won't be able to make it to Glenwood Springs. I'm fairly certain we're going to have to stop in Edwards. And so far, the chargers only pop up when you're that far zoomed in. If you're this far zoomed out, nope, no chargers show. I don't understand that at all. So I'm fairly certain this is nope, that's the charge point station. We need the Electrify America station, which I thought was right here. Yep, it is. You just got to zoom in even more. Holy smokes, Electrify America. Now it knows it's a 350 kilowatt charger that we have to go to. So I'm going to click info here. Maybe I could just hit route there as well. Okay. It says 4 available. Let's route there. So now the car knows we're going to a high power charging station. It doesn't even think we can make it there. I'm pretty sure we can make it to there easily. It's only 166 miles away. It is crazy uphill, but we do have 185 remaining. If we can't make it to Edwards, that would be crazy. I'm 98% now. How did we drain that much? Anyway, we better hit the road before we lose any more. Car's in eco mode, so we have all these cool drive modes: eco, normal, sport, GT, and then my preferences. We're going to drive eco mode here, of course, for the road trip, which primarily will make this car rear-wheel drive. It disconnects the front motor. I'm not going to use iPedal because that will force the front motor to connect. We're going to hit start guidance, so that hopefully it will precondition along the way. And fingers crossed this all works. And then we'll stop and see Jordan. All right, let's hit the road. Time to reset drive info by doing something. How to reset? Oh, after recharging, sure. We'll just reset right there. I guess you can't reset drive info, but you can reset after recharging. And our accumulated info. Wow, pretty bad efficiency. Into drive, lights off. Let's hit the road. We have arrived to a familiar sight if you've ever watched one of our driver assistance challenges. I'm here a little bit before Jordan. He said the road was closed on the way over here. Yeah, it was pretty icy on the way down, icy patches, I should say, but that is to be expected this time of year. And of course, as we go into the mountains, I'm expecting conditions to worsen. By the way, I haven't mentioned it yet, but we are on Nokian tires, of course. We're on the R5 EV, which is an EV-specific winter tire. I think it's truly the best winter tire I've ever used, driven, heard of. They certainly give up a little bit of performance, a lot of bit of performance. I mean, it's a hardcore winter tire, but living here in Colorado, we always run Nokian tires on our cars, and the Hakkapeliitta R5 EV is perfect for the EV6 GT. This is not an ad. They sponsor our reviews channels at times, and actually this one they have in the past, but I just think it's the best winter tire. We put it on everything. It's awesome. With that said, our efficiency is not looking good, folks. I think we're at like 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. I shut the climate off just while we're sitting here. Yeah, 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour so far. It's warmed up to 25 degrees though, which is nice, but that just happened as the sun came over the horizon. Cool Lyric over here, by the way. Would love to take one of those on a trip. I'm really digging the Lyrics. I think they're pretty good values. I would want one with the big wheels, but they look pretty awesome. Anyway, EV6 looking good here, and just waiting for Jordan to come. Already feeling that seat uncomfortableness. Now, what obviously the EV6 GT is dialed for performance, not for daily driving, but I still think, you know, this competes with Model 3 performance and other things, and that's way more dailyable than this. The driver assistance has been pretty bad on the way down here. The wide HOV lanes freaks it out, so it ping-pongs and then shuts off, and it doesn't ding at you when it shuts off. So sometimes I'm just like, whoa, driving off the road, gotta pay attention. No lumbar support or adjustable lumbar in these seats. They look amazing, really beautiful seats, but these are just a bit too narrow for my body type. Maybe I'm a bit too big, I should say. And the backrest is uber comfortable. Love the backrest until I run out of lumbar support. So I may end up putting like a sweatshirt or a jacket down here, and that could solve the problem. I don't want to make this whole video complaining, because I really think the charging performance of the EV6 is going to be awesome. I cannot wait to experience that 240 kilowatt charging, as long as we can get the battery temperatures up. But so far it has not started preconditioning to Edwards. I'm pretty sure it has to be within a pretty close window. I forget the exact parameters. But with all of that said, we'll wait for Jordan to show up, hand him the thing I need to give him for a reviews video, and then we're back on the road heading to Vegas. And look who it is. Jordan Schieffer has arrived.
Look at this nice Lyric over here.
I know. I just filmed the Lyric, actually. We're kind of into the Lyrics recently.
Yeah, just all of a sudden. It's the year of Cadillac this year.
Yeah, it is Cadillac year. Escalade's already out and delivered. Yep. Optics, by the time this video comes out, delivered. So this is a Wolf box, not sponsored for this video, but sponsored for another one. Guess the name of it. You can see it on the back. Yeah. Super powered turbofan Megaflow 100.
Wow, wonder where the 100 comes from.
I don't know. It should be 1,000.
Yeah, 150,000 is the RPM. So.
That's right.
Yep.
You know, there's 3 levels of cleaning power for maximum efficiency or performance.
Just what I need. Everyone makes fun of me for cleaning my car all the time, so.
And actually, that thing blows pretty hard.
Yeah, nice.
Someone's just going to clip that last few seconds. Why don't you just ride with me to Vegas?
I gotta go film this.
Oh, okay.
Do some editing.
That's a good excuse.
And then fly on Frontier, which doesn't have enough room to edit. So I'm going to be previewing another potential motoring video. So
okay, nice. Yeah, the one Shane did.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're heading to Vegas for CES as well. So see you there. It's a race. Race to Vegas.
Race to Vegas. Frontier versus EV6
GT. What time do you actually land?
I think 2:30.
Oh, you're gonna beat me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Timon is now on a later flight.
Timon's now later because Kansas just shut down.
Yeah, this is going to go up in a few weeks or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But Kansas is covered in ice right now.
Right.
And Timon's in it on his way back from New Jersey.
There was like a 200 car crash on 71 in Kansas City. So.
Wow.
Yikes.
Damn.
Ice over there.
Dude, they don't run studded tires. They need Nokians. You got Nokian Hakkapeliitta R5 EVs.
Fine.
We have the same tires.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to go test it in the mountains. Danny just went up the pass this morning and said it was sketchy up there.
Okay.
So
Good luck.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's got all-wheel drive, should be fine. It doesn't help you going down though. All right, see you later.
All right, bye.
And we have arrived. Man, the SOC predicted on arrival went from like not calculating most of the drive to like 3%. Then we went back uphill and it was like, oh, you're never going to make it. But we made it at 9%. So really needs to do a better job of understanding what SOC you'll get there with. Preconditioning kicked on about an hour ago, actually, around 30% state of charge, and ran all the way until we got to 19% and then shut off. Like I mentioned, it doesn't precondition really below 20%. So I'm curious if the battery got cold remaining on the remaining drive over here. We saw temperatures down to about 10 degrees, and here it's leveled off, in that 20 degree range. So it's not too cold. So let's plug in without much delay. I've had the heat blasting, but I think for the charging session, at least, because I'm going to run inside, let's turn that off. That way the battery can get as much of the climate performance as it needs for potentially heating. I don't think cooling is going to be an issue in these conditions. So yep, let's activate it. This car actually comes with free charging. Well, at least a megawatt hour of free charging. So you get 1,000 kilowatt hours when you take delivery of your EV6. And since this car, even though Fort Collins Kia is loaning it to us, it's technically ours, so we've registered it in the app. So I'm going to use some of that free EVgo? No, Electrify America charging. All right, here we go. I've got my EV6 plan here. I've got 743 kilowatt hours remaining. We'll swipe to activate on 2. Once it says we're good, it says initiating charging, we'll go ahead, there we go, and plug her in. So this is the charging port here. Pretty dirty. I hate this flap as well. That's annoying. But let's take the CCS connector and into the port. By the way, the new EV6 will come with a NACS port, and they're putting it on the rear driver's side so that when you use a supercharger, it'll interface perfectly. We are connecting to the vehicle. Really curious to see our charging performance. Initiating charging. This is going to be fascinating to see. 48 cents per kilowatt hour. However, I think I've selected my EV6 plan, so it shouldn't cost anything as long as I did it properly. Still thinking, still communicating. Contactors just clicking. Let's see how fast we charge. Just heard the charging started ding, and we are ramping. How high will it go? And with this vehicle, we actually do want to charge pretty deep for two reasons. It's got a great charging curve, and is 70 kilowatts it? Come on. What? I feel like we should be doing better than that. I think I actually do. Yeah, I have my OBD in here, so I'll check the temperatures of the cells. And they need to be at 21 degrees Celsius, if I remember correctly, to get full power. So we'll give it a minute. But man, that sucks if that's all we get. It could be charger limited at 100 amps, I guess, because we're at maybe around 700 volts. But I'm guessing it's car limitation. Anyway, I'll check the OBD scanner. But we want to charge deep for two reasons. One, the efficiency and range of this car sucks. And two, it actually has a great charging curve so we can hold full power to 70 or 80% or so. Yeah, it just shot up to 1 hour, 4 minutes. But it's ramping. So I think it's got to be, yeah, it's car limited at the moment. That's crazy that we navigated here, preconditioned here, and we're only getting 70 kilowatts because the preconditioning logic is so dumb it didn't get us warm enough. Ugh, Kia, come on. Before I load up Car Scanner, another good indication that we are battery temperature limited. As you can see, 4.5 kilowatts here going to the battery pack for heating. So, yep, that is probably what the limit is. I'm really glad that the OBD was plugged in. I didn't actually realize that it was, but let's see here. What do we have? We have battery SOC. Yep, we're battery minimum 11 degrees Celsius. We are way too cold to get full power, which is killing our performance. We had plenty of range to get here. It should have just kept preconditioning. Now we're stuck at garbage charging performance. This is so frustrating driving this car in the cold. Well, while that is slowly charging and the Teslas over here are probably doing 250 kilowatts because they have usable preconditioning logic, I am running inside. Now, one thing I should mention is on the Refresh EV6, I believe with the CCNC software, they let you precondition down to 10%. At least our EV9 did, but still, just like, give us an update, guys. I have just run in the market, got a couple Smart Waters and a couple Cliff Bars. I'm pretty hungry, so I may want to stop and get a little bit of food on the way out. But I'm curious if we've hit our next temperature threshold. The way these things work is they kind of go up in big steps, and it looks like we did, yes. So now we're up to 126 kilowatts, and as we reach the next minimum temperature threshold, it will go up another chunk. That's not smooth. It kind of just goes up like, oh, once you've hit this temperature, boom, another rip of power. It's not the end of the world, but it just shows that, okay, there's so much room for optimization. And also it shows that Hyundai, Kia, Genesis is not willing to support existing vehicles on the road with newer technology. This is a simple software problem where they could allow preconditioning to lower power levels, lower SOC. The community's been asking for it, and they said, sorry guys, you got to buy a new car in order to get the new stuff. I think it's just such an old school way of thinking, and it's a real shame considering how nice of a hardware package this is. It's just totally let down by the optimization of software. We are finally getting okay speeds, and we've reached easily 21 degrees Celsius cold, but because we're higher state of charge, it may need to be even warmer. That 21 degrees Celsius might just be minimum cell temp at lower state of charge. Of course, the higher SOC you are, the warmer your battery needs to be to reduce resistance to charge faster. But anyway, we can live with 150 kilowatts going into the battery. It's getting better. You can see it's a straight 200 amp limit that it's requesting, and that's just how they do it, these arbitrary steps. But we'll probably charge here till 80%. So we are charging slower. I don't understand why that's the case, but we're slowing down. 130 kilowatts. Still, I mean, like, the curve is great, but I know this thing can do even better. We've been here for over 20 minutes now, and we're still only at 58%. If Kia, when they sell you the car, it says 10 to 80 in 18 minutes, and we are at 58 in over 20 minutes. And it could just be solved with a simple preconditioning logic fix. Anyway, it's no longer heating the battery, so it's at whatever it wants. And I feel like it should be doing more. But anyway, we'll take it. We're at, it could be that the temperature spread has now become too much and we have too much of a gradient temperature. Rivian's run into that. And we've seen lots of weird logic with EGNP. So I had to zoom in here to Grand Junction, and it's a good thing I knew that this green dot was the Electrify America station versus those green dots over there. So I went here and I, selected this station, went into it, hit navigate. So that's what we're in right now. And so we're roughly 130 miles away from this station. And let's see really quick. We have 130 miles of range. We're 136 miles away. If you click this, it will tell you what you'll get there with. It'll say unknown when it doesn't know. But what I've learned is no matter the number it gives you, it should just also remain unknown because it never knows. Can you tell I'm annoyed yet? Come on, Kia. This thing is so fun to drive fast. It's so fun on track. It's hilarious to have this great of a car, but oh my God, is it just let down with all of this BS. Anyway, I think we'll just charge it to 80 and we'll go to Grand Junction. We can't skip it. It doesn't really make sense to hit any of the other stations. There's no magic docks out here, and this vehicle only charges really slow on magic dock anyway, so we'll skip all that. So we'll go Grand Junction, Green River, and then I don't know if we'll do Richfield or Beaver or what we'll do after that, but we'll see. Now, this is where things get good. 112 kilowatts, but at 78%. We can live with that, folks. Anyway, we'll just let it hit 80, just because that's kind of the magic number for these things. I'm curious if it drops. It's been so long since I've charged one of these, so I'm going to see what happens when it hits 80, unplug, and roll. But you can see they advertise 10 to 80 in 18 minutes. We've done 9 to 79, same percentages, in basically 30 minutes. Crazy. Seems to still be doing good up here at 80%, 97 kilowatts at 81. Anyway, we're not going to wait around. I don't want to charge this thing below 100 kilowatts. It's an EGMP car. This is supposed to be a charging monster. Hopefully the rest of the trip we'll be able to see more of that renowned charging performance that we know and love. Close that up. Off we go. Welcome to Grand Junction. I accidentally shut off the car, but we got like 2.7 miles per kilowatt hour over here to Grand Junction. We're at, I think, 16% state of charge. Should have done a little bit better than that, I would have imagined, because we lost a ton of elevation. Man, has this thing gotten dirty driving through the mountains. Wow, looks good though. So yeah, let me get it all authorized because this car does not support plug and charge, and then I'll be back with you guys. Also, it doesn't love to latch, does it? But I think it does. Okay, we're all authorized on the EV6 charging plan. Cable cooling is on, it's initiating, and the coldest battery cell temperature it preconditioned, it actually shut off before 20% because now it's at 21 degrees Celsius coldest temp. So we should see a monster charging session now. I have climate control off in the car so that it hopefully gets all the cooling it needs, since that's the next limitation of these things. Especially in hot weather, they can get thermally overheated pretty easily with repetitive DC charging. We saw it from the Ioniq 6 and the Surge as well. We're up to 111 kilowatts, 125. Come on, baby, let's see some more. 138. There we go. 180. We should see like 240-ish. 192, sitting at about 200 kilowatts. I mean, hey, even 192 isn't half bad. Let's see if we can get some more. Nope, that's what it's showing in here too. Where's our 200 plus kilowatt charging? Yeah, we're not at even high amperage yet. Here comes an Ioniq 5. Anyway, that's all the stats. 21 degrees Celsius cold, 30 on the hottest. Only getting 265 amps. I would have thought we would have been doing a little bit better, but all right, we'll give it some time, see if it ramps up from here. But still, not complaining about 200 kilowatts. That's at least livable. Still just sitting at about 200 kilowatts. Again, not complaining, but I've charged these things and Ioniq 5s with these batteries, and we see more than 200 kilowatts here pretty often. So not 100% sure what's going on, but we can't stretch it to Salina, so if we look at the map, our next stop is going to be Green River. This thing just does not have the highway range, and it's not worth... I mean, this one does charge to 100% pretty quickly, but it still isn't worth stretching it all the way over to Salina. It's 200 miles to here, basically. This is as the crow flies, but then you have turns. So we're going to stop in Green River, which is somewhere around there. And we'll have to zoom in to put in the... Where is the town of Green River? Do we have to keep zooming? Gosh, there's only like a couple chargers out here in the desert. It should just show on the map where they are. Green River, there's the town. Let's zoom in. This must be the charger. Electrify America, very good. And we'll hit route. So now it'll precondition if it needs to. And it's only 100 miles. So yeah, here we are. Look, over 200 kilowatts. So we hit a temperature at 25 degrees Celsius at this state of charge range. Now we're ripping full power. That's what we were looking for. So very happy to see that happening. So now I'm even more confused about this whole preconditioning logic, because the car was preconditioning and then shut off at 23% when it still had more time to go. If it knew I was coming all the way here to this charger and it knew it was going to shut off at 20%, it should have got the battery even warmer so that we could have plugged in and got full power. Yeah, or it's just oh, you're at the current temperature and it's not thinking ahead. And it only does precondition to 21 degrees Celsius minimum temp. But we're ripping full power, so I'm happy about that. I've got climate control off. We'll charge until we have enough range to get there, so we probably only need 60% realistically. So assuming we're getting full power, we won't leave, but if there's still, if we taper by that point, then we'll head out and head to Green River. The difference preconditioning and driving can make. We're at 228 kilowatts at 46%. This Ioniq 5 is at 46%, getting 58 kilowatts. And it just shows that having a preconditioned battery makes all the difference with electric cars. Same battery, same percentages. We're charging 4 times as fast. Crazy. You can see these sites fill up pretty quickly, and it starts to feel like 4 stalls is about half as much as we need minimum. So I'm hoping with all new installations, EA, Iona, everyone really starts putting in more stalls as electric cars have become more popular and they charge even slower in the winter time, like we've experienced on this trip and like this Ioniq people are experiencing as well. Well, we've just tapered here at 55%, down from 230-ish, 235 maximum, down to a little bit lower speed, 150. And the car is predicting 121 miles to get to Green River. Again, we won't be able to make it to Salina. There's huge elevation along the way. Let's hit start guidance. Let's see what it thinks we'll get there with. It doesn't think we will make it there yet to Green River. Anyway, I still think we will. It's high speed, it's flat, it's desert. It's very easy to Green River. After Green River is where we get all that crazy elevation. So what I think we'll do is I'll charge up here to 60, 65%. It's still ripping fine, 150 kilowatts, totally livable, especially at this state of charge. Very, very nice. You can see our battery temperatures, 34, minimum 43, hot, so the spread is getting larger apart. I'm probably going to hit up Starbucks on the way out of town, maybe get some food. So I'll charge up just a little bit more. I'm hungry, so that just takes some time. You know, it would be really convenient to eat while you charge, but there's just no good options for food really at any of these stations out here in the West. You always have to get something on the way to the charger, and it'd be so nice if they were more conveniently located to food that you would want to eat on the road. Weird. Look at this. Now we're up higher speed again. What the heck? Well, I'm not going to unplug getting almost 200 kilowatts. Why did that happen? Now we're getting, 190 kilowatts. This thing is just all over the place, but it's all over the place good. Like, I'm not complaining. It's just one of those situations that it's got its little temperature map and gradient temperature map, and it just does its thing. So it's only 6 more minutes to 80. So yeah, I'm not in a huge rush. Just, we're getting good speeds. May as well stay plugged in, because you can't guarantee that we'll get a 350 kilowatt charger in Green River. Now this is the charging monster that I knew EGMP to be. 160 kilowatts here at 78%. Damn, if only we could have this at every stop. And maybe going forwards we will. But it just shows that you charge this thing to 80%. There is no reason to unplug if you're still getting pretty good speeds. It's just a few minutes to get to 80. It's very impressive. We've only been here, I think, 16 minutes. And we are all the way up here. That's awesome. So this wasn't even a perfect session for the EV6, and we're already at 79%, about to cross to 80. You saw we were at the same state of charge as the Ioniq 5 here just a few minutes ago, and they're only at 60. Again, it really shows how much battery temperature can affect this. Down to 132 kilowatts now at 80% and dropping. We'll hit stop and we will go. There is kind of this hard ledge around 80% with these EGMP vehicles. So there we go. 53 kilowatt hours in 17 minutes. Love it. It's awesome, especially considering how small this battery is compared to only really bigger battery vehicles that could match this. That was very impressive. So cool. Let's boogie off to Green River, but I'm going to stop and get some food first. And here we are, almost 100 miles on the nose. We've averaged 2.3 miles per kilowatt hour. Thirsty. It's not even that cold or windy. And I wasn't even going that fast. Just like, just slightly over the speed limit. It is a high speed limit though. Allegedly, I should say. Speedometer is not calibrated. Okay, let's plug in and get this thing juicing. It did precondition for a little while. And, yeah, hope we did, have more juice in the tank than what we needed, but that's okay. Let me get this thing going. Really curious to see how this charging session goes. I'm hoping for a good one. And just like that, after a pretty long handshake, charging has started. This is stuck on initiating charging. Oh, we had one refresh, has like the slowest frame rate. We had that issue on that charger last time we were here. Maybe in the Taycan was the last time I was here. I think so. For Cannonball. But anyway, let's see how we're juicing. Should be good. Come on, baby. Big numbers. Go away, door. Yeah, baby. Over 190. So hoping that will hit the 200 mark, whatever it needs. I think it needed 25 degrees Celsius and we're at 20 on the minimum. So anyway, it's just cold weather stuff, not getting maximum performance, but we're not far off. We're like 25 kilowatts. That's like 10% down. That's not a big deal. I can totally live with that. Man, these Nokian Hakkapeliitas looking awesome. Totally performed great in the mountains, by the way. They totally take the edge off this car, too. It's so comfortable on these Nokian tires. It really softens the whole thing down. Certainly, the handling's a little bit reduced in the corners going through Glenwood or whatever, but I was just going around with a little opposite lock, and it was really fun. The faster you drive the EV6, the better it gets. This thing loves to have the nuts wrung off of it, but the software is trash. And the seat, I thought was actually going to be more uncomfortable based off my last few months with it. I'm not dead yet. So depending on how this charging session goes will determine our next stop. There's Salina, that's pretty close. So if we fall off a cliff for charging for whatever reason, we'll stop there. Then there's Richfield, I think it is. There's also an EA station there. That feels like maybe it should be the next stop. This is still stuck. And then there's also, what's after that? Then Beaver, Utah, which is 186 miles from where we are right now. This can do that at 100% at the speeds and the elevation that we're going to, and the weather is not looking good. I'm fairly certain we're going to probably stop short of that, probably in Richfield, because this thing, again, charges pretty good up to 80%. So let me take the next 10 minutes and put it in the nav. Yeah, just sitting at 200 kilowatts. Hey, no complaints here. That's awesome. So, man, I'll take 200 kilowatt charging on a small battery like this. That's awesome. All right, let me put it in the nav, turn this thing on. We'll turn climate off. All right, let me get this going. Boom. As soon as we hit 25 degrees Celsius, we shot right up to full power. So that's the magic number. I really thought it was 21 degrees Celsius. That's its preconditioning temperature. But 25 seems to be when it really gives us everything it can. We just hit our sort of 80%-ish taper point right there. Yeah, I actually just put in Beaver rather than Richfield. It's 180 miles, I think. And we've got some crazy elevation, 182 miles. But I think if we charge up to 90%, we should be able to make it. And we're still doing 130 kilowatts. Plus, I kind of want to stretch this thing, and we'll have some downhill. I mean, we're at maybe similar elevation. It'll look really bad for the first hour. We're at 4,000 feet. Beaver, I'm not sure. The car is obviously going to say unknown. Yeah. So I don't know. We have Richfield as a backup, which is over here-ish, but let's try and stretch it to Beaver. May as well. I mean, I'm kind of tired of doing these quick hops. It's still charging pretty decently. Can't believe we're the only car in Green River still. That's amazing. We've been stuck here so many times. Let's do it. Let's try and go for it. We've got backups along the way if we need it. So we're definitely slowing down up here, 80 kilowatts at 85%, but still amazing charging performance. Wow. No wonder why people absolutely love these eGMP vehicles. I mean, Ioniq 5, EV6, especially the non-performance ones, make for great road tripping vehicles, especially if you're good, like an EV nerd, like an out-of-spec viewer. where you can play around with this stuff, down to 70 kilowatts. And we didn't get a Korean siesta. Sometimes after multiple DC charging sessions or a really deep session, they'll sit at like 1 or 2 kilowatts or just pull, a single digit amount just for loads, but nothing goes into the battery for a few seconds while it does a voltage check across all of the cells. But that hasn't happened yet. And we've been typically unplugging at 80% before that would kick in anyway. So yeah, only 3 more percent. We have 190 miles indicated, 182 to go. I feel like we're still going to bail out. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but 2 more percent. We'll hit the road, eco mode. I'm going to drive reasonably. I don't mind stopping a bit early if we have to. I hate the noise when you shut the door with the car still running. But yeah, I'll get the heat going while we're still connected to the charger, all that good stuff. And then we'll hit the road and head off here in just a moment. So while we're connected, let's take the extra power from the charger, get the car warmed up, heated seat and steering wheel on, down to 50 something kilowatts. Definitely, yeah, time to go. Man, this thing really falls off a ledge, doesn't it? We'll charge it to 90. Let's see how far we can go in the EV6 GT. 182 miles to go. 190 indicated. It's not factoring in any elevation, I can tell you that much. This says unknown, which means probably not going to make it, but we'll see. The car is indicating 90% state of charge. The charger is stuck at 89, but it is at 90. It's just not updating. And I think I hit stop charging, but the charger, it just refreshed. Stop. Best way to do it, just a rip down on that button. It's not good for anything, but it does stop the session. Down to we're at 49 kilowatts at 90%. Hell yeah, let's see if we can stretch it to Beaver. 90%, man, I like road tripping this thing. Oh, we've got a piece of Chipotle. Whoops. I like road tripping this thing because you really just can charge it super deep. So the range becomes less of a problem with a charging curve like this. Into drive. Nope. Got to turn the car on, which shuts the screens off for some reason. Well, we got 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour. It just went away. It was like 140 miles, something like that. Couldn't quite stretch it to Beaver. Maybe if I drove slow the whole way, but it snowed and there was ice and conditions weren't great. So we're here at pretty high state of charge. I think we're at 21% indicated, 24 on the battery. Because I was navigating to Beaver for most of the time, it didn't quite warm up all the way for this. So we'll have limited charging performance, and we charged deep on the last one. So it's not all great here, is it? But hey, part of the fun, part of experimenting, playing around. When you don't have the best trip planner, it's always hard to gauge a little bit. I was hoping we could stretch it, but man, this EV6 just doesn't have the range. It was another, I don't know, 60 miles or so from here, and we have 21% indicated, so that would mean it would have to do almost 300 miles on a charge. Anyway, let me activate this charger. So according to the app, that one is broken. This one's in use. But according to the screens, everything shows available, and clearly this one's not in use. So things are not going well here with the app. But with that said, we're plugged in. Let's see how fast we're charging. I'll probably run to Walmart, got to get a couple things. So I don't mind doing another deeper charge. I mean, even if you do a deep charge in this, it's pretty quick. I really like this thing. So let's see. 100. Yeah, that's probably about what we're going to get with this battery temp. And then as it warms up, we'll get even more. So I'm going to let it sit here for a little bit, run into the store. It says 21 minutes to 80%. Again, they sell you the car 10 to 80 in 18 minutes, but it's only in ideal conditions. Only in ideal conditions. And if you mess up like I did and didn't precondition, or if you use Apple Maps or Google Maps to navigate, you are then completely screwed, because then you get no preconditioning. So this is like, at least I got maybe 15, 20 minutes of preconditioning before coming here. We are back. I'm not really sure why this leaf is just blocking the Chatamo spot, but not my problem. We're up to 150 kilowatts, 12 minutes. Not great, but it's still warming up. Went in, got some sweatshirts, because you can never have enough sweatshirts. Plus, I wanted to try these out. George. That's where I get my pants. So I'm a Walmart kind of guy. New sweatshirt, pretty comfy. I think good review. Maybe a little bit too thin. Still looking for the perfect out-of-spec sweatshirt. Every time I go buy a sweatshirt, I buy one. Or go, walk by one in the store. I pick one up, try it out, just in case it's perfect. This one, nope, doesn't pass the test. A little bit too thin, but we're still on the hunt. And we're down to 128 kilowatts. Ooh. So I would say our charging stops in the winter this trip, even with preconditioning, have been extended by 50 to 60% minimum over what this car should do in ideal conditions. And that just is not cool. Let's take a look at our next stop, shall we? So, since we're not taking much from the charger, let's see our battery temps at the moment. 31 to 40. But we're down into this 128 kilowatt range. This has happened every charging session so far, and then it'll pick back up in a few minutes. So we're in the region, which isn't too bad. We are in Beaver, Utah, right over here, and we're going to go south towards Vegas. This is not going to be our final stop. We have to do one more, maybe down here in Mesquite. Yes, it's 180 miles away, but it's all downhill. So that could work, or we could always stop in St. George, which is kind of always a sketchy station right around here. This would be like Mesquite, somewhere over here. So anyway, we've got a bunch of options. I say we charge it to 80, which is what we've been doing, because there's no real benefit. We've kind of just been sitting at 130 kilowatts this whole charging session. I was monitoring it inside as well. So we'll take this, and then we'll, that's what we got. All right, folks, we have reached 80% state of charge. Time to go. I wonder if this will stop charging. Doesn't seem to. Nope. So it looks like we have to stop it from the charger. Interesting discovery, which is, 21 minutes, not the end of the world, to 80%. I mean, it's still not ideal. It's not what the car should be able to do. I don't think we've had one massively perfect session yet, but it's not it's really not the end of the world. It's just like road tripping a normal slow electric car. I mean, it's 2025. This stuff should be sorted out by now. And maybe with the refresh model, they'll surprise us and it'll be even better than I'm expecting. Although with my experience with the refresh Ioniq 5N with the new 84 kilowatt hour pack, yes, you'll get more range, but they actually have more sensitivities to charging in terms of thermal management. I hate that you have to turn the car on even though it's already on. So anyway, we are off to, well, I've put in Mesquite, which is 204 miles away, but it is all downhill. Realistically, I think St. George, but I'm going to certainly try and stretch it if we can. Let's go. We have arrived into St. George, Utah, and that is our efficiency, 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour, but it really was on the downhill stretch. And yeah, I thought this was really going to be our spot. The car was saying, you can't make it, find a charger, blah, blah, blah. Made it here plenty, 7%, and there's that buffer below zero with EGMP. So I don't know what the cause for concern was, but it's warming up outside. It's still preconditioned for a bit until we hit 19%, so we're almost at our okay threshold. Let's plug it in and hopefully we'll get a good charging session here. This particular station is dead, number 3, but number 2 appears to be a working 350 kilowatt charger. Let's find out. We came in still a little bit cold on the battery, down to about 180 kilowatts. But if we get a good enough session, I'm pretty sure this could be our last stop before we make it to Vegas. Mesquite's relatively close. Doesn't make sense to really stop there. Then we'll be on to the next. I was just talking to Colton, who has the, non-GT version of this car. And he was like, dude, I can't figure out how the route planning is this bad. You have to zoom in all the way to find a charger. He says, totally agree. You can save chargers as your favorite, but that just seems crazy. Also, another issue here is the charger is indicating that it's reconnecting to the vehicle, but according to the Kia, it actually is charging just fine. So I'm not sure why it says reconnecting when it's also outputting 190 kilowatts. Also, more Electrify America things. Like I mentioned, this one is unavailable. So far into this charging session, we've just been sitting at under 200 kilowatts, but this is about to tick up to 25 degrees Celsius, which means that should tick up to 220-ish kilowatts. So we'd get like another 30 kilowatts or so, which is not insignificant, folks. I'm not saying the charging is bad. I'm just saying it's lacking the software to optimize this. And if I got in at 20%, then the preconditioning really still doesn't get us in at the correct temperature because it only preconditions to 21C and not 25C. So there's 25, boom, right up like clockwork, 220 plus kilowatts. Nice. All right, so let's hope we get a pretty damn good charging session here, and then I will run to the bathroom. And then I think this is our last stop. I've got climate off, so it's got the cooling power it needs. This Leaf was charging. They unplugged. They stayed in the same parking space. They laid their seat down, and then I think they went to sleep. I'm going to go into Walmart. Well, just 12 minutes later, we are up to 60% state of charge. We've put in, 43 kilowatt hours or so. The Leaf left. I guess they didn't go to sleep. And there's a nice Lucid charging here. This is like road trip spec. That's super cool. Charger. I was really curious to see what they're charging at. They pulled in low though, proper Lucid arrival. You can always tell by the LEDs on the side. So pretty sick. Anyway, we'll see how long we need to charge up to make it. It's only like 120 miles or something like that. But sometimes the car unlocks when I get close. Sometimes it doesn't. We'll hit unlock here. And I think it's like 130 miles, and our Airbnb has a charger at it. So, yeah, so we have basically just enough according to the car, but we had a little bit more of an efficient leg there. So I think we'll just charge it to 80 as we have been doing. It's another 7 minutes. Charge it to 80 and go. Let's take a look at some stats. Battery's in a pretty good temperature range. Hopefully, I feel like we should be doing a little bit better charging performance, but it's not the end of the world. Certainly happy with this charge for sure. I just turned on air conditioning. We were at 25 degrees on the coolant inlet temperature to the battery pack, and it went 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And that really does show that it is really nice to keep the climate sort of off in the vehicle to help with battery cooling. But that's okay. It only went up a few degrees. It just has to share some between the car, and there was a period where the air compressor shut off. Only a 5% more left to go. Again, 120 kilowatts at 75%. That's awesome. Love that. No complaints there. We'll throw in the final destination, and that's it. And I really think don't want to road trip another eGMP vehicle until they upgrade the software, the sound system. I don't know. Ioniq 5N might be better. Better seat. You can do manual preconditioning to 10% in that car, so you can actually use Apple Maps. You don't have to use this. Maybe that's better for the super nerds, but I still think normal general people need a way better route planning integration than all of this. So I would say we pretty much matched the claimed charging performance in this session here from 7 to 77 in 18 minutes, which would be really close to 10 to 80, of course, just shifted a little bit. So, hey, that's pretty freaking awesome. First time we've done that all trip. Oh, we're getting the Korean siesta first time this trip. We hit 80% and it has gone down. And you can actually see that the battery is outputting. Oh no, it's getting a little bit of power. So about 5 kilowatts into the battery. This is where it does a voltage check across all the cells. It does this for, honestly, a couple minutes, if I remember correctly. But anyway, we're good to go. We've been here 20 minutes, down to 11 kilowatts. It'll shoot back up for the remainder, but it's called the Korean siesta. I think Bjorn named it that. So we'll charge till that, and then we're going to leave. It doesn't seem to give you any problems if you just leave right when the siesta starts. We did that Ioniq 6 and the i90 Surge across the country. Same battery, same behavior. They never sat through the siesta, I don't think. Maybe one time, never gave us any problems. So anyway, we're good to roll. Welcome to Las Vegas, Jordan. Again, second time, one video, same day, two cities.
That's pretty wild. I did beat you here.
You beat me here by hours.
I had way less legroom than you.
But you know, I'm saving the planet by burning coal.
How much energy did you use? What was your efficiency?
We could look at the stats. So it was like 815 miles. It's definitely not over 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Not even close. What do you think your car on the same Nokian R5 EV tire?
I mean, I just did a road trip on the same tire.
Yeah.
And it was like 3.7 one direction, 2.8 the other direction. So average of 3.3.
Okay. Yeah, and we lost elevation coming this way.
Right.
So this should be the better of the two. Okay. So let me take a look at the trip stats. 814.3 miles. It was 11 hours, 40 minutes of driving. 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour.
That's going downhill.
That's losing elevation. It was like 2.3 in the mountains, and then it came up on that, downhill stretch on the way over here. But, some final thoughts on the EV6. This is my first real eGMP road trip. And I am so impressed with the charging when it works. So like warm and even hot weather charging is probably perfect. Cold weather road tripping, man, they got the hardware. They've got the heating. They could do all the stuff. They just don't optimize it. Yeah. You have to go into the nav system and select the exact charger. Such a pain.
The software does feel like the crutch for this car to me.
It's like the hardware's fine. The hardware's great. And actually, I'm totally okay with the ride quality, and even the seats weren't that big of a deal. It was just the awful software. The Meridian sound system's not good, dude. Yeah. It's like it falls apart if you want to listen to it loud.
It's so weak in the EV6, and I think the EV9 is a bit better, but still kind of weak. It's just Meridian is just like not that in this car.
Yeah.
Other cars with Meridian, they're fine.
Like my Rivian is amazing. The Range Rover, 2,000 watt Meridian system's amazing. I can't believe they called this a Meridian sound system. That's crazy, dude. So anyway, I just listened to YouTube videos on my phone. And that worked better. So anyway, it was a really cool experience to go in this car. I've learned how important software is to the vehicle experience because I'm so used to driving Tesla on trips and Rivian and Lucid. And dude, this is going back 40 years.
It's crazy to be at a Tesla and just maneuvering your stops and you know what, maybe I'll do this one first or this one. Maybe I'll try that charger. And at this, you just can't do that.
Yeah. And people who own these cars have come up with a bunch of workarounds and tricks and a better route planner and plug in at 20%, all this BS. Dude, it's all BS. It's just we're living in cars that are designed for the past and the future. And it's clearly the hardware team built this for the future.
Yeah.
Aside from the efficiency.
800 volt architecture ahead of the time. Our first race to Vegas was me and the Ioniq 5 coming here. It was great. We almost beat you.
Right.
Not quite.
Not quite. Yeah. But it can be great when it's optimized. Right. But then the software team was let's just put the gas car shit in here. And it doesn't work. So anyway, that's the Kia EV6. I think, first of all, if you judge this car based off the MSRP of $60,000, almost 60, not worth that at all. Maybe not even worth half that.
You could save a lot of money and buy a Model 3 Performance.
Model 3 Performance, way less money. But I think if you lease one of these, this one will be at Fort Collins Kia, and I think it is able to be leased. Yeah. After we're done with it. It's only got a couple thousand miles on it. This thing for $300, $400 a month, now it starts making sense. You get 500 plus horsepower, really fun to drive. It's so fun to drive fast. That's the thing. I even think the normal EV6, my experience on the road trip would be no different between this and a regular EV6.
Right. Yeah.
So I would just buy a normal EV6. If you're in the market, just lease one of those really cheap.
Because the seating position in this doesn't feel sports car like to me. So
no.
I don't really care if the car has all this power. Just give me the EV6 wind, call it a day.
Yeah, I think maybe even the bigger...
The light with the all-wheel drive long range.
Yeah, you did a video on that one. But I think even the biggest issue beyond the seat is the steering wheel is like a bus driver position. It's angled forwards, which is so weird. So you sit in here and the wheel's angled away from you and it doesn't come out far enough.
Right.
But other than that,
Got heated seats. That's all I care about right now.
You know, I have good news. Danny might be coming with the car hauler on Wednesday. I think I'm putting this thing on the car. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to drive this back.
No. You got a good road trip with it.
Yeah, I'm thrilled I did the road trip.
Space, you got room for kids, but
yeah, the back seat's huge.
Yeah.
The USB-C ports are fine. Like, I have no issues with the ports and stuff. It's just all of whatever's going on in here is not so good. But the Starlink worked great because I had bad cell reception.
Yep.
I had it on Wi-Fi the whole time, dude. Worked awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So efficiency's bad. It would be much better in a normal EV6 or Ioniq 6.
Yeah.
That's that. End of the road trip. Thanks for watching. We got to go to dinner with the Alpitronic guys. Is that who we're seeing tonight?
Just the Alpitronic guy.
Oh, just Mike, not Brandon?
Nope.
Oh.
Brandon comes in tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see Mike. That's cool. All right. Neato. Well, see y'all later. Goodbye.